presiunea schimbărilor climatice, valul legislativ de la Bruxelles va schimba din temelii felul în care va arăta sectorul energetic în toată Uniunea Europeană în 2050. Anul acesta este poate unul dintre cei mai importanți ani care vor defini viitorul sectorului energetic românesc. De aceea este cu atât mai important ca toți factorii implicați și toți specialiștii care au un cuvânt greu de spus să-și adune forțele și să pună pe masă cele mai bune idei pentru a defini tranziția optimă energetică în România. Așa a apărut acest proiect al nostru, Energy Trends, prin care ne-am propus să aducem la oaltă cele mai bune idei venite din partea experților din sectorul energetic. Ne bucurăm foarte mult astăzi să-l avem alături de noi pe unul dintre cei mai cunoscuți și buni specialiști din acest sector. Este vorba de domnul Ondrej Safar, Country Manager CEZ România. Hello and welcome.
Hello, hello, bună ziua.
I'm very happy to join our invitation, and I think that when we are talking about the energy transition and the energy union, we cannot talk about it without the active participation of the citizens in the energy transition. At the European level, we are witnessing at a growing popularism of popularity of prosumerism, which is affecting the business models and the market regulation, the technology scenarios of distributed system operations, and so on. How is the situation of prosumers in Romania, at least in the Oltenia region, the area where you are operating?
So first of all, thanks for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I will start a bit broader about the energy transition and where is it heading. Because when we are looking at the energy sector, so we are now looking at a sector where you have on one side big power plants which are generating the power. Then there is some transmission network, which is Transelectrica, and then there are the distribution networks. And at the end of that network, there is a consumer which is consuming the electricity. So we have relatively simple flow of energy going from the big producers all the way to consumer. At the end of energy transition, all of this will be working differently. So there is going to be consumer, and that consumer will, in the same time, will start to produce own energy, and it's already starting. So the energy flow will entirely change. So it's not going to be from the big power plant all the way to the consumer, but it's going to be in the local networks, in the what we are calling distributed generation. So the consumers will generate, one neighbor will be supplying to the grid because will generate more than it's consuming, other neighbor will consume that electricity, and it will be the role of energy sector, it will be role of distribution companies, not to distribute the energy from big source to the householder, but to manage all of those local balances. So to make sure that whenever someone comes and turn on the light, that the light works. Because people don't want to really pay attention how the things happen technically, they just would like, and they are expecting from us, that whenever need there is electricity. Mm-hmm. What's happening in Romania is it's starting to have, we are starting to see the prosumers. We have in this moment in Oltenia around 2,400 prosumers already connected. We are expecting that there will be more prosumers coming during this year. And what I'm very happy to see is that from all the consumers or all the prosumers connected this year in Romania, half of them were connected in Oltenia.
Oh, that's a very important figure. Congratulations. But yes, indeed, the interest for becoming a prosumer is increasing, and we are all now witnessing a huge increase in the electricity prices. Do you estimate an increasing interest to become a prosumer in this context?
So what we could see is whenever there is economical motivation for the consumers to generate by themselves, when it starts to be more economical, it's starting to be a bigger trend. So there was, I think 2 years ago, there was a program which was organized by the government in order to support the installation of the photovoltaics. And in very short time, there was really all the money were used and people were interested, because the return on the investment with the support of that fund decreased from something like 15 years to 5 years. So it became really, people were really motivated to look at this solution. So, and in future we will see the same trend. So in the moment when it will be more economical, it will be more and more people looking for this solution.
For the moment, how do you see the market picture? I mean, which are the main barriers and opportunities you see for the local prosumers?
So there are, from the perspective of prosumers, there should be this economical motivation. So the customers are doing it because they would like to be green. So they would like to not pollute the environment. That might be one motivation, and the other motivation is economical. So it should bring them either the same costs for the better feeling and being green, or having the better cost, having some savings on the energy consumption. So this is on the side of the consumer. But what's as well important is that us as an energy company and distributors, we are prepared to connect those systems. Because as I described before, the energy flow will be different. So we need to have the systems which are able to manage all of this local energy flow, which is going to be going within the network from one house to the other house, from one factory to the other factory. So for that, it's very important to have digital solutions, because these things will be happening in real time. So you cannot make it by human beings. So now we have dispatchers which are looking on high voltage, medium voltage, with some support of systems. They are still taking the decisions. But when it will go to medium to low voltage, where we have around 20,000 low voltage stations, you are not going to be able to do it by the human being. So you need to have systems. You need to have systems which are running all of these decisions, making all of these decisions in automated way.
So this is an interesting topic. So I will go further and ask you, how do you see in 10 years, how do you see the future of electricity distribution system in 10 years from now on?
So in 10 years, there will be significantly higher proportion of energy generated locally. So it will require distribution companies like us to have systems which are able to manage it in real time. So we will need to have some advanced dispatching systems. We will need to have smart meters. We might need to have, and this is something which as well, it's now under the development, we might need to have some local battery systems to be able to store the energy, or when it cannot be produced because it's night, for example. And all of these things should work. All of these things should work together in order to have customer energy whenever customer needs. What will go hand in hand with that as well, there will be significant change in the way how the energy is consumed, because we have now majority of the consumption is during the day, but with the e-mobility as well, so the typical consumption will be most likely people will have electrical cars. They will come from work, they will come back, and they will most likely they will want to charge their cars over the night. So the consumption as well, the pattern of consumption will be changing.
This is very interesting.
Because the consumption of electrical cars is quite high, so we can expect that there will be another peak, which is going to be as well in the time when people are returning, people are charging.
This is interesting. This is interesting. This is, you mentioned about the digital grids, digital networks. So, in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, for example, it is mentioned that a significant challenge for the energy sector in this moment is the lack of digitalization. The digital revolution in this sector is going to change the way in which we produce and consume energy. And the lack of this kind of investments leads to a difficult integration of prosumers and renewable energy in the system. The smart meters and smart grids being insufficiently widespread. So this is the situation at the current moment. But you said that in 10 years from now on, we'll have a change model for the electricity distribution system. But being more digitalized, the energy sector becomes more vulnerable to contemporary cyber threats. Do you have any figures for Romania about the necessary investment that are needed or to counterattack these threats?
So, I would say so I will start first with the digitalization, because this is something where we started 2016 and we made a roadmap of all the systems which needs to be implemented, and those are things which is not going to happen over the night, because it needs to be designed, it needs to be as well in order to have digital network. It's not only about installing the systems, but it's as well about installing a lot of sensors in the network, a lot of automation in the network, where if you have a system which is making in real time some decisions, you need to have in the network, you need to have the equipment which is able to perform this decision as well in the real time. So this is something which is really long term. And the fact that we started 2016, this is helping us that we are really in this moment able to connect the consumers or connect the prosumers, and that's the reason why we are really able to have half of the connection in Romania. We have it in our region because we are getting really prepared and we are able to process it. What goes hand in hand with that, and this is something which it's as well a challenge for us, is it's not only about systems, but as well it's about the people, because all of these systems should be managed by the people. All of these systems needs to be set up by the people, because the systems are not coming by itself. Someone needs to teach them, someone needs to set up them, someone needs to make sure that they are doing what they should be doing, and it requires a lot of education on the side of the people, and that's another part of digitalization, which is very important, and it goes hand in hand with the system. So we should be, and we are educating people to be able to run with that, and then with all of this data which we are starting to collect from the system, we need to be able to use it for something valuable, because that's the other risk. So, or the other challenge, if you have a lot of data, you can be overwhelmed with the data and you might have difficulty to take the decision. So another thing is really to learn ourselves how to be able from this large amount of data to take the decisions, which again, it's not in the, let's say, human capacity to absorb so much information and to really sort it. So that's, we need to, and we are investing in the analytical part of the systems to be able to really work with those data. And whenever you have all of this automation, you have in the network, you have the equipment which you communicate from the distance. It is there is a risk of the cyber attacks, and that's something which in this moment. So there is now discussion on defining really the legislation and the regulation when it comes to cybersecurity. So this is something which is under the preparation. We are in quite intensive discussion with the regulator how to approach it, because all of these things as well cost money. So what is the level of necessary and reasonable level of cybersecurity? Because if you follow somehow this cybersecurity, you can see that even like Pentagon is attacked and so on. So theoretically there is never enough money on cybersecurity. You can always do it better. You can always be more cyber secured. If I'm discussing with the experts, they are telling us, if someone really wants to attack you,
they will.
You are the target. Sooner or later, they will find a way. So it's really about being ahead of let's say this general cyber hacker community. So it's really about finding the proper balance, and that's what we are discussing. But cybersecurity is one of the critical points of this digitalization and the future of energy sector.
This is very interesting. I don't know. Will this be the new crisis? Do you see it? This threat of cyber attacks. I mean, how resilient we should be to.
We should pay attention to it, because that's definitely something which represents a risk. Energy sector is one of the critical infrastructure of the country, so it's definitely requires certain attention. On the other hand, worldwide, that's something which is not. This is not new. So this is something which Romania is not different than any other country. So wherever with all the digitalization across all the sectors, this is the risk, but that's not something which should make people be somehow more afraid of anything else.
For example, how do the companies in the energy field how the companies are cooperating with the local authorities in this matter? Do you, for example, have any recommendation? Is there any kind of policy needed to increase the system resilience?
So there is, on the level of European Union, there is a directive which is defining what are the requirements, and there is a national implementation which is a bit detailing it. And this, as I said, it goes hand in hand with a discussion with the energy regulator. What should be the way? What is the reasonable level? What is the reasonable cost of those investments? So yes, there is very close cooperation with the authorities.
But I'm very curious. How are the consumers? The consumers also become more digitalized, because we have more smarter homes and so on. Is there any risks? Are there any risks at homes also? Theoretically,
everyone is potentially under the risk of cyber attack. Whenever you receive the email from someone you don't know, whenever you receive some attachment which is with something which is suspicious, everything, all of these things might be subject to or it might be part of some cyber attack. So we are in the environment where we are digital, and it's important to be aware of it and somehow be careful. So we are living in the digital world, and this is part of it.
We take the advantages, and there are many advantages of a digital world. In the context of smarter grids, you're talking about the people behind the grids and the system. How are the necessary abilities of the working force changing?
I would say it like even differently, because what is the challenge for our sector? We could see it before the COVID crisis, and we are starting to see it now again, is the lack of qualified labor force. So whenever it comes to some professional trained people, it's really becoming difficult. So it's for us, like all other players in the sector. We are for years already now working on the way how to attract young people to be able to even join and start the career and start the education of being professional in let's say the energy field. So this is really something very important to start from elementary school, start from the parents. So not only educate them, but even attract them to be interested in it. And what goes hand in hand is training of existing employees. So as I said, we are implementing systems and we need to really train our people. So I think 3 years ago we implemented workforce management systems, which in simple terms it means that each of our electrician has the tablet and all the communication, all the work orders comes through the system, through the tablet. So electrician gets in the car, he receives in the tablet message what he needs to do. He has their navigation, he's navigated to the place. When he arrives to the place, he can scan, we have on our pillars, we have the QR codes. He can scan the QR code, which is telling him exactly what is the equipment on the pillar. He can see all the equipment around. He has from the system what he's supposed to do. Once he finish it in the system again. And this is for the people, that was our biggest, let's say, worry, whether this system is going to be accepted by the electricians, which were until recently used to work with the paper and pen.
Yeah.
So really training of people was a very important part of the implementation. And I have to say that we were very positively surprised how easily this system was adopted.
But what are the future abilities needed for the workforce in the field? As we are becoming more digitalized, we see more energy efficiency, more renewable, more automation.
It's like for us, and this is what we are explaining to the parents, and this is what we are expecting to the young students, is that the work in the energy company, it's not about walking somewhere and working with a screwdriver, but this is more and more working with the computers, setting up the system, setting up the intelligent parts of the networks or the intelligent equipment. So it's more and more about this, let's say, digital ability, digital knowledge.
Yeah, you were talking about a crisis in the workforce. Do you have any recommendation for the authorities in this field to solve the problem?
I think what is important, and this is not about authorities, but really to be able to explain, and this is role of all of us, authorities and as well the industry, to be able to really explain what are the opportunities, what it really means, these opportunities, for example, in energy sector. So how that career might look like, and that this is not something which people should be afraid of, or this is something people should be ashamed of, because those are really professions which are with computers, those are professions which are with something which is vital as energy. But this is the common work of us and authorities.
It was a very interesting discussion. We are coming to the end of it, and as a final remark, what would be your recommendation to have on the best energy transition in Romania?
I think the most important is, because we are ahead of a lot of challenges.
Yes, of course.
And that's going to be, and whenever some new challenge will come, I think it's very important to have in front of us the vision. So what is the final target? So where are we heading? So whenever we are solving some challenge on the way, to always have in mind where are we heading. So not to be just solving it from one day to the other, but really having this long-term plan. Because then it's always easier. So if you have the direction, it's always easier.
Thank you so much for the discussion.
You're welcome.